Words of Torah spread all throughout many different locations, including Stern, including in Eretz Israel, and the programs that he's been running for many, many years of outreach in various iterations with the JEC, and unbelievable. And now we're very proud to have him with us here, working in the city for us together on this project called Chazak in the City. It's a very, very special honor and a privilege to have someone with the years of experience that you have in talking the talk and walking the walk. Hazak u'Baruch B'Chavod, Rabbi Lawrence Hadjo.
Thank you, Rabbi. Good morning. 12 hours ago, I was standing, praying at the Kotel, the Western Wall in Yerushalayim, and I had the zchut, the merit of standing right where our ancestors were, right where the Beit HaMikdash was 2,000 years ago. And it was full, it was cold, but it was still, Baruch Hashem, full of many, many people. I had to get back because Rabbi Fai said, you got to speak Sunday morning. So I got on the plane, my wife and I, after visiting my daughter who is studying for her year in Yerushalayim. And I arrived at 6 a.m. this morning, got in time for Shacharit, and came straight here. I want to give you fresh news from Eretz Israel. Let me tell you what's happening in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem right now, my friends. Right now, the Jewish people in Yerushalayim are getting ready for Chanukah. And there's two things they're doing. Number one, they're buying donuts. And when I say buy donuts, I'm talking unbelievable donuts. With jelly, with cookies, unbelievable. The stores are full to the brim with many, many donuts. Thank you. You can't escape. My wife said, "En reshut l'shlemeshem ela l'rotem bilvad." We should not eat them, but we can look at them and enjoy them. Actually, we brought back for the kids hand luggage, walking through the airport, on halal, in the car with the donuts. That's one thing the Jewish people in Yerushalayim and all of Israel, the whole world, do to prepare for Chanukah. Number two, the menorahs. The Chanukiahs are everywhere. And at the Western Wall, there's a big, beautiful menorah, Chanukiah really is what you should call it, which was lowered by a crane in front, right in front of the Kotel, to be lit by the rabbi of the Kotel and the chief rabbi, Bezrat Hashem, down by the side of the Kotel. One day, Bezrat Hashem, on top, with our new Beit HaMikdash. Friends, it's a very unusual thing you see in Yerushalayim, and as far as I know, only in Yerushalayim. I could be wrong, but I know it definitely happens in Yerushalayim. And that is, people take their Chanukiahs, their menorahs, and they put them outside their house. They put them outside their house in little glass boxes. And as you walk around Yerushalayim on Chanukah, you see, as you walk around the beautiful small streets and alleys, you feel like you're 2,000 years ago, with Wi-Fi still. And there's little menorahs everywhere outdoors. And all of us, we put our menorahs indoors. Why is this custom? Well, actually, they're doing it right. The way to light your Chanukiah is actually outdoors. That's the way it's going to be done. You're going to take a menorah, put it in the Reshut HaRabim, in front of your home. On the right-hand side, opposite the mezuzah, Chazal. On one side, you have the mezuzah outside your house. On the other side, you have your menorah. And as you walk in, you're surrounded by mitzvot. That is how the rabbis tell us to perform the mitzvah. The custom has become in the entire world not to do that, to bring the menorah into the house and put it in the window. Pirsum Nisan. So that everyone sees like the menorah. Why? The rest of the world push it inside. Anti-Semitism, cultural things, weather, many explanations. But in Yerushalayim, they kept the original minhag. And this is the real minhag, to do it outdoors. Is there any other mitzvah we do like this? Tell me, when Pesach comes, do you walk around in the streets of your town saying, I'm going to eat the matzah. Everybody watch me. You're in your home. The curtains could be closed. No problem. The mitzvah is the mitzvah. You could be abroad somewhere. The mitzvah is to eat your matzah. On Sukkot, do you take your sukkah, stick it on the front lawn? Hey everyone, I'm sitting in my sukkah. Watch me. No. I mean, you can if you want to. But you could have your sukkah in a field somewhere, no one's seeing you. Same mitzvah. On Rosh Hashanah, do you walk around the streets and sound the shofar for everyone to hear, unless you're Chabad? Then maybe you do, but the rest of us, we're in Bet Knesset, we're in the synagogue, we'll go to the shul. And yet, when it comes to Chanukah, oh, everyone's got to know. I got to take my Chanukiah, stick it outside the house, and if I'm inside, I'll put it in my window, and the entire world has got to know I'm going to light it when most people are passing by the home, ideally 30 minutes after Shkiyah. And if not all night, the nighttime mitzvah, stick it there, let everyone see when most people are passing, because we want to advertise to the entire world that we're doing this mitzvah. What is going on? This is so un-Jewish that we take a mitzvah and stick it in everyone's face. What's happening over here? What exactly does the Chanukiah represent that we're not keeping it in our homes, but we want to be mefarsem hanes, to expand, to express the mitzvah in the most public way possible? That is the question I want to answer in just 25, 30 minutes. And if I have the zchut, the merit to do it, hopefully it will change every single night of lighting that you do. My friends, the light of the menorah is not just a commemoration of an event that happened 2,000 years ago. It's not just the reliving of a miracle that happened to our ancestors. It's not just the last open miracle that happened to our people. It is that as well. Because Tanakh, scriptures, is full of miracles. Actually, the Gemara is full of miracles for our people. And yet we don't have a holiday to celebrate those miracles. But this one miracle, we create an entire holiday around. One simple answer is because it is the last Nes Nigla, revealed miracle that happened to our people. It's the last one. After Hanukkah, the spiritual world broke down, and we were no longer zocher, no longer have the merit to have an open miracle happen for the entire Jewish people. Closed miracles? Plenty of them. I'm sure everyone here and everyone watching online can testify to a personal miracle they've experienced or saw firsthand, if not, then definitely secondhand. But an open miracle, this was it. Hanukkah was the end. So there's no doubt it's worth celebrating and keeping that going. But that's not what I want to discuss this evening. Because the miracle of Hanukkah is that we are still a light. That 2,000 years after the destruction of our temple, 2,000 years after the removal of our people from Eretz Yisrael, that we are returning geographically to the land of Israel, which you can't miss if you're walking around Yerushalayim, and spiritually holding on to our heritage. That is all represented in that little flame all of you are going to put into your window tonight in your homes. That is the secret of Jewish history. If you want to sum up 2,000 years into one symbol, it is the menorah, it is the Chanukiah, and it's that little flame. Now, if I want to express Jewish history, I wouldn't choose a flame. I'd choose a bonfire. I'd choose a flamethrower. Why didn't Hashem do that? Why didn't Chazal say, you know what, you want to celebrate Hanukkah? Make a big bonfire on your front lawn. And on day 2 bonfires. A lot of fire. You know, I live in a very Jewish area. But there's one Christian, who I'm friends with, a very nice guy. He's very religious. I would call him a Haredi Christian. And on his front lawn, he's got so much light. So many rain doors and bulbs and flashing that when he turns them on, he sucks the energy from the rest of the street. And he's the last one there. Very nice guy. But for some reason, for him, that's his connection to whatever it is. The trees and the lights, and there's a globe, and there's a reindeer, and there's this guy in the red suit, and the whole zach, and it's all lit up. You walk past, you're blinded by it. And then as you go a little bit further, everyone else is Jewish. There's a little light. There's a little bit even like, that's it. That's the best we can do. Let's light it up. Let's get the inflatables going. Let's get a bonfire and a vuka. There's such a thing. At least a Havdalah candle, a multi-wick. No, that's not the way. It's a little tiny flame. Why? Why is that? Why can't we express 2,000 years of Jewish survival with a big bonfire? Had the rabbi said it, we would have done it. They tell us to build a sukkah. They tell us to clean the house for Pesach. And yet here, a little flame. Because that flame represents the Jewish neshama, the soul of every one of you. And it represents who we are as a people and the Torah that we have given the world for 2,000 years. The invisible Torah. I'll explain what I mean by that. And we don't go around banging on people's doors. You need to become Jewish. We don't walk around proselytizing. We have enough trouble to just keep our Jews inside, never mind the non-Jews. And yet that little flame is there. And if you want it, it's here. Come and get it. It's here for you, but you've got to want it. You've got to make the first step. So I'm not going to bang it into your face. I'm going to say, come here. Because the Jewish home, which is where the mitzvah really takes place, ner ish ubeitov. Notice that. The real mitzvah Chanukah, we do it in the home. Because the home is the light. I was just with my daughter. I must share something. She's steeped in Torah in Yerushalayim. And we had a little Shabbaton with a bunch of students on Friday night. And I went around asking the kids who were there, who were studying for the year, tell me the most inspiring moment you've had. I asked at the Shabbat table. We brought them to the hotel. I said, tell me the most inspiring moment you've had. And they all had their stories. And my daughter said, my most inspiring moment was standing on the balcony Erev Shabbat. And I looked out. We've got a very high floor in the hotel, 22nd floor of the plaza. So all over Yerushalayim. And she said, I looked out and there were so many lights. And she said, it occurred to me, a little bit of nothing. It occurred to me, she said, that each one of these lights is a home. And inside the home there's people. These aren't just lights. The light represents the home. And I said, thank you for the Dvar Torah. I'll share it Sunday morning. God bless you. It was worth the money I paid for you to be here. Dayenu. Different holiday, but same concept. Each light represents a Jewish home. Ner ish ubeito. Because the Jewish family is the light. It's not the Bet Knesset. Bet Knesset is very important. Synagogues are important. That's not going to hold us together as a people. It's got to be the Jewish home. The light has to shine out of the home into Reshut HaRabim. I'll tell you something fascinating. Most people are not aware of this. So the menorah, the original light of the Jewish people. The menorah is more of the symbol of the Jewish people than anything else. I know everyone walks around with a Magen David. Now the Chamsa has become the big thing. Everyone in Yerushalayim, in Yerushalayim, walk around with the Chamsa. Sometimes a tattoo of a Chamsa. This is what we're dealing with today. Everyone's got a tattoo. Another discussion, I'll talk a whole deal about that one day. Mr. Hashem invited back, Mr. Hashem. That people feel the need to embed it into their skin. But okay, better to put it into your window. And the menorah represents who we are. And think about it. You've got Yerushalayim, which is up. And then there's a mountain, Har HaBayit, which is even higher. And on that mountain was a temple. The first temple of Shlomo HaMelech. And the second temple, which Ezra helped put together. And when you walked around in those days, homes had windows. And the way it used to work was, the windows were wide on the outside and narrow on the inside. That's how windows used to work. Why? They would capture the light that was outside and they would suck it in to the home so you had light in your house. Makes sense, right? The Gemara tells us that the windows in the Beit HaMikdash were hafuch, were backwards. They were inverted. They were big on the inside and narrow on the outside. Why is that? Why would that be? so that the light on the inside would be captured and shine out to the rest of Yerushalayim, and on a clear day, further out to the rest of Eretz Yisrael. So you were walking around Yerushalayim, and you were feeling low and desperate and uninspired, and you would look up because there was a big mountain, and on the mountain there was a big beautiful building, and there was a light that was shining out, and you saw that light of the menorah, and it lit up your life, literally inspired you. So there was smell coming out of the Beit HaMikdash with the incense that could spread far and wide. Some say as far as Jericho, which is a long way. And there was light that shone out as well. That light was taken away by the Greeks. They wanted to extinguish the light of the Jewish people. The Greeks are very interesting. We give them respect. They don't want to kill us physically. It's not a story of Purim, where Achashverosh and Haman wanted to kill us physically. And how do we celebrate Purim? By eating. So the mitzvah represents the story. They wanted to kill us physically, and therefore we celebrate physically by eating and drinking. On Hanukkah, the Greeks, they wanted to enlighten the world with their wisdom, and they had wisdom. They came from Yefet, son of Noah. Yefet, beauty. They brought great beauty and understanding and intellectualism. The Western world came from Rome, which came from Greece. This is the world we enjoy today. But there's something they wanted to break down. And that was the spiritual light of the Jewish people. And that's why they attacked the menorah. What a strange thing to attack. You want to kill a Jew? Go and kill the Jew. Plenty of people have done that and they're still trying to do it. Go to the Jewish home. Beat us up on the streets. We're used to that. We can handle it. But the Greeks didn't do that. I mean, eventually they did. Right? Eventually they did. But it didn't start that way. It started by them trying to intellectualize and take away the spiritual nature of Torah. They wanted to take Torah and make it a pure academic pursuit. We have a lot of time for intellectualism and thought and understanding. We Jews are into that. But once you take away the eighth dimension, I'll explain what I mean by that in a second, from the Jewish people, you've killed us. Once you extinguish the light of the spiritual nature of the Jewish people and our job in this world, we have a problem. And that's where Greek intellectualism failed the Jewish people. And so they attacked the menorah, because the menorah, the oil of the menorah, because the menorah and its home, the Beit HaMikdash, represents spiritual greatness. That's what it is for us. So what happened? They came in and they were metameh. They made all the oils impure. And a small band of Jewish skulls. I know in the cartoons and the movies, they're big Jewish warriors, the Maccabees. I think the Maccabea Games, these strong people, that's not what it was like. It's ironic. Maccabea Games, the Jewish Olympics, but that's not what it was like. A small bunch of guys came together and started a revolt in caves and then streets. And eventually Yerushalayim and eventually Har HaBayit. And they managed to push out the Greek army. Also a great miracle. And yet we pushed that aside for the light. And they fought until they were able to find one pachshem, and hear the story, one small little jar of pure oil that lasted for 8 days. Which is why we celebrate for 8 days. Why do they need oil for 8 days? Many answers to this question. The simple answer is it took 4 days to go and find and produce the new oil, and 4 days to return. So we needed this miracle to happen, that the oil would last for 8 days. Friends, I'm going to tell you the secret of the number 8, because this holiday means nothing without understanding what the eighth principle of Judaism is. How do we say 8 in Hebrew? Shmona. What does 8 represent? Well, to figure what that means, we've got to figure out what 7 represents. So 7 always represents the natural cycle, 7 days of the week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1 again. 7 colors of the rainbow. 7 notes on a musical scale. Right? It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, then back again. So 7 represents Olam Hazeh. 8 represents Olam Haba, the 8th dimension, the supernatural. That is what 8 represents. Take the letters Shin, Mem, Nun, Hey, Shmona, rearrange what you get, Neshama, the soul. That part of us that the Greeks could never accept. You don't have a soul. That's not a Jewish, a Greek concept. If I can see it, if I can measure it, if I can count it, it exists. If not, I'm not interested. That the Jewish people have no time for. Take the letters and rearrange them again. What do you get? Mishnah. Mishnah. What's Mishnah? Mishnah is the first Torah that we had that was oral, not written. The written Torah is there. You can experience it physically. The Mishnah is the first time that the oral Torah, that which is unseen, like the Neshama, was put down into print. It's that interposition between the written Torah and the oral Torah was the Mishnah. Rearrange the letters again and you get Hashem and the oil. The oil connects the wick and the flame. No oil, the wick dies down. No wick, you have nothing to catch the flame. So the Shemen connects the two together. So 8 is not just Lamala Min Hateva, above the natural order, which it is. It's also connecting us. Neshama. Neshama is that third level of the soul. Below it is the Nefesh and the Ruach. Above it is the Chai Yechidah, the 2 high levels of the Neshama. The Neshama is connecting this world and the next world. And so the number 8, that's why baby gets a Brit Milah on the 8th day, connects from before to when he becomes a Jewish boy. It's pulling those two together. We, my friends, are the number 8. And the light is going to represent that. So we take that flame and we put it in our window and proudly say, what are we really saying? What are you meant to think when you light the menorah? You know what I'm meant to think? I am proud to be a Jew. How do you show proud and courage? You put it in your window for everyone to see. Every other mitzvah you can hide. Just get it done. Privately, no problem. But now, this one day, I'm going to take that small flame at the darkest time of the year, which represents the hardest time of Galut, the last open miracle that happened to my people. I'm going to take that small flame of the Beit HaMikdash, and just like it's shown out to the temple into the world, my home, which is the Mikdash Ma'at, the small Beit HaMikdash, and I'm going to project it out to the entire world. That, my friends, is the secret of the small flame of Chanukah. I want to share a quick story with you, if you don't mind. It's actually a story within a story. We rabbis are good at it. It goes like this. I was at a Shabbat table 7-8 years ago, around Chanukah time. I think maybe in Chanukah, I don't remember exactly. I'm getting older. And I had a bunch of students together with me, and there was a young boy who I didn't know, one of the boys or girls that brought this young boy along. He's sitting at the table. And he had the question which everyone always asks. Rabbi, if God really exists, I want to see a miracle. We've all thought that. Why are there no miracles today? I know Jewish history was full of miracles. Give me a miracle today, I'll believe. The usual answer I give is, just because you see a miracle, does that mean you're going to change? The Jewish people saw great miracles at Har Sinai, and they still worship the golden calf right afterwards. So miracles are not panaceas, they're not answers to all your problems. Miracles come for a reason and a purpose, but they're not a cure for all of your spiritual problems. They're there to expand, but they're never going to change your life. Because we've all seen private miracles, and we all still make mistakes. But you know what? I didn't give that answer. I didn't. I was tempted to. That's my rabbi get out of jail card for free answer I usually give. But I didn't say that. I don't know why, but I told him a story that I just read in a book by one of my wife's teachers called Yafa Eliach. And this is a book of interviews of Holocaust survivors, but interestingly, for the most part, inspiring, happy stories. That sounds strange. Happy, amazing stories. These are interviews that were taken in the 1960s and 70s. Written into a book called Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust by Yafa Eliach. Her husband, Rabbi Eliach, was my wife's principal, the Yeshiva of Flatbush, when they allowed an Ashkenazi. She's not Ashkenazi anymore, don't want she married me now, she's Sephardi. But I told him the following story, and I shared it with the entire table. I said, talk about miracle, let me tell you about a miracle, I said. This amazing story. And this story took place in the early 1940s. I can't remember where exactly. Amsterdam, somewhere in Europe that hadn't fully been hit by the Holocaust yet. And there was a family that had a young boy and a young girl, a brother and sister. And this young girl, the boy, who was now an older man, told, was a very, very beautiful and lovely girl. And everyone loved this girl. One day the boy came back home, and his sister was missing. And he saw his parents on the floor crying. What's wrong, Ima Abba? And they said, she's been kidnapped. By who? The SS came and took your sister. Where did they take her? They set up offices near here. They took over an office, and they're there. I'm going to get her. And this young boy, in his teens, goes over to the SS, a Jewish boy, to the SS offices. Not a smart thing or recommended thing to do. Bangs on the door. They open up. Says, who are you? I'm here for my sister. So what? You took my sister. I want her back. You dirty Jew. They grabbed him. They brought him inside. Threw him to the floor. And they start laughing at him and kicking him. This little Jewish dog. He wants his sister back. And they're pushing him and kicking him. And every time he got up and said, I'm not leaving without my sister. And they laughed more and more. And they pushed and they kicked. Dirty Jew. You think you can walk into SS office and take your sister back? Eventually the head of that particular office came out. What's all the commotion? This Jew has come to pick up his sister that we have. He wants your sister back. And he started to laugh and make fun of him. And every time he said, I'm here to pick up my sister, and I don't leave without her. And eventually the commandant stood up and said, I'll make a joke with you. I'll give you a deal. If you grow hair on your hand, I'll give you your sister. And the boy took his hand out of his pocket. He opened it up, and there was hair all over his hand. And the commandant went crazy. You devil Jew! You're sorcerers! You're magicians! They went to the back. They grabbed the sister. They dragged her out. They threw at him. He said in the interview, she hit him. They fell over. They jumped up fast as they could. They ran out. They both survived the war. What had happened? This young boy came from a family that owned a bakery. And when he was a young boy, he was a bit of a wild kid. Actually, in his teens, he sounded like a wild kid too. And his father would leave him alone in the bakery. And he would play around with these big, beautiful, amazing machines. And one day, he says in the interview, he put his hand in the machine, and he got caught up in the mechanism, and it pulverized his hand and ripped the skin off. They rushed him to the hospital, and they said, I know what we can do. There's only one thing we can do, and that is to graft skin from his leg onto his hand. And that's exactly what they did. And they did it, and it was successful. But as the weeks and months went by, hair started to grow out of his hand from where the skin grafted from his leg. And the doctor said, and it's in the interview, you can read this, the doctor said, this should not be happening. And he would answer, my hand never went to medical school. It didn't know what to do. And it was embarrassing. And he's walking around with this deformity. And one day, that same hand saved his sister's life. So I told the story. Why? As my favorite emoji always says, I don't know. At the Shabbat table. The boy sitting next to me, remember that young boy we spoke about a moment ago? His face turns white. I said, everything okay? It's a true story. Everything okay? And I'm telling you what happened. You could take it or leave it, but this is what happened. He took his hand out of his pocket and he opened it up, and his finger was covered in hair on the front. This young boy who was asking for miracles. And he held it up like this for everyone to see. I said, what's that? What the heck happened? Did that just happen? He says, no. I'm a bicycle enthusiast. And I got my finger stuck in the chain about 4 or 5 years ago. And they had to graft a piece of my leg and stuck it onto my finger. And ever since then, it keeps growing hair. And I'm embarrassed, I keep cutting off. But eventually I said, I can't be bothered anymore. I just let it go. And when I give someone a handshake, they see the hand. That was my miracle. That was my miracle. The light is there. It's always there. It never got extinguished. There are miracles like Chanukah. They're going to follow us from door to door, generation to generation. And when we put that candle in the window, when you light that candle, think, we are a people who have pride in who we are. And so once a year, we express that. It's not a flashlight, it's not a bonfire, it's a small candle, but it's in the window. We have to express it with pride. And it's a sign of courage. Because putting that candle in the window takes courage. Great courage. Are you willing to publicly say, I am a proud Jew, 2019/2020? Because most Jews are not. You wouldn't know they're Jewish. Okay, most of us have the noses, but sometimes it's not enough. The miracle of Jewish survival is the greatest miracle of all. The fact that you are willing to say, I am a Jew and proud of it, and I'm going to put that candle in my window, is the greatest miracle of 3,340 years of Jewish history. Lighted with pride. I must say about who we're here this morning to commemorate Mr. Safra, Edmund Safra. He was someone who was a very, very proud Jew. And he was someone, as we heard from a moment ago from the rabbi, who put his money where his mouth is, put his time, his effort, and his love. He exuded it, and he created community, because community is Jewish homes, and the Jewish home, like my daughter said, is the light of the Jewish people. That's our source of power, bringing the light from our home, from a Mikdash Ma'at, into the outside world. B'ezrat Hashem, all of us should continue the light of Mr. Safran. This Bet Knesset should be blessed, this shul should be blessed with more opportunities to bring the light out into the world, and we should all, God willing, bring great nachat to his memory. Amen. And be a light unto the Jewish people. Chag Sameach. Chazak v'amatz.